Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! 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 Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we're going to be taking a look at number 2 of 7 in our week salute to Scrooge, 1938's A Christmas Carol, starring Reginald Owen as Ebenezer Scrooge, alongside Gene Lockhart, Kathleen Lockhart, Terry Kilburn, Barry McKay, Lynn Carver, June Lockhart, Leo G. Carroll, Lionel Bram, Ann Rutherford, and Darcy Corrigan. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And as I said in the introduction, today we're going to take a look at the second of 7 tellings of the story of A Christmas Carol as we continue on with our week-long salute to Scrooge. And our movie opens today on Christmas Eve in 19th century London, and Fred is sliding on ice on a sidewalk. He meets Peter and Tim Cratchit, sons of his Uncle Ebenezer's clerk, Bob Cratchit. When Fred reveals who he is, the boys take off in terror. Fred soon arrives at the counting house of his miserly maternal uncle, Ebenezer Scrooge. After declining an invitation from his nephew to dine with him on Christmas, Scrooge then rejects 2 gentlemen attempting to raise money for charity. That night, Scrooge reluctantly allows his employee, Bob Cratchit, to have Christmas Day off with pay, but he orders him back all the earlier the day after. Later, Bob accidentally knocks off Scrooge's hat with a snowball. As a result, Scrooge dismisses Bob and withholds a week's pay in order to compensate for his now damaged hat. Furthermore, Scrooge demands a shilling from Cratchit in order to make up the difference in the cost. Bob then spends the last of his wages on food for his family's Christmas dinner. Back in his house, Scrooge is confronted by the ghost of his deceased business partner, Jacob Marley, who warns Scrooge to repent his wicked ways or else he will be condemned in the afterlife, just as Marley was. Marley proceeds to tell Scrooge that if he wants a chance at redemption, he will be haunted by 3 spirits over the course of the night. At 1 o'clock, Scrooge is visited by the youthful ghost of Christmas past, who takes him back in time to his early life. Scrooge is shown his unhappiness when he was left to spend the holidays alone at school, as well as his joy when Ebenezer's sister, Fan, came to take him home for Christmas. The spirit reminds Scrooge that Fan, who had been dead for some years now, is the mother of his nephew, Fred. Scrooge is then shown his early career in business and money lending as an employer under Fezziwig. At 2 o'clock, Scrooge meets the merry ghost of Christmas Present, who shows Scrooge how others keep Christmas. At a church service, Fred and his fiancée, Bess, are seen happy and in love. However, the couple must wait to marry because of Fred's financial circumstances. The spirit then observes that perhaps they will not marry at all, and in fact, their love may end, just as Scrooge lost his fiancée in his youth. Scrooge is then shown the Cratchit home, where despite wearing a cheery manner for his family's sake, Bob is deeply troubled by the loss of his job, though he confides in no one except for his eldest daughter, Martha. The spirit then hints that Bob's youngest son, Tiny Tim, will die of a crippling illness by the same time next year if things do not change. At 3 o'clock, the ghost of Christmas yet to come arrives, appearing as a silent, cloaked figure. The spirit proceeds to show Scrooge what will happen if he does not change his ways. Scrooge discovers that Tiny Tim is in fact dead, and the Cratchit family is mourning for him. However, when Scrooge discovers that his own death will not be mourned, Scrooge promises to repent and he returns home. Scrooge awakens in his own bed on Christmas Day and is a completely changed man. He then orders a boy in the streets to go and buy a turkey for him as he intends to take it to the Cratchit house. Afterwards, he runs into the two men who had petitioned him for charity the evening before, and Scrooge gives them a large, generous donation for their cause. He then goes and visits Fred and makes him his new partner. And lastly, he goes to the Cratchit house where he rehires Bob and increases his wages as our movie comes to its end. This version of A Christmas Carol, aside from Mickey and the Muppets, which we'll get to later on this week, has always been mine and my family's favorite version of A Christmas Carol. For starters, you've got Reginald Owen, who is by and far my favorite Scrooge. Then you've got the family nature of the film with both Jean Lockhart as Bob Cratchit and Kathleen Lockhart as Cratchit's wife, and then their legitimate daughter, June Lockhart, the mother from Lassie, as their eldest daughter, Martha. So right there, you've made the movie a real legitimate family affair as well, along with having Reginald Owen as Scrooge. You've got Leo G. Carroll as Jacob Marley. You know, an amazing job as that role, as that character. You know, I honestly can't think of a better Marley in any of these tellings, with the exception of maybe Goofy in Mickey's Christmas Carol. And even that one is out of place, and we'll get to that when we get there. But there's just so much good in this telling of A Christmas Carol, and especially like we discussed yesterday, when you compare that it's only 3 years after the Sir Seymour Hicks version, this one flows so much smoother. It doesn't drag. The story is at a perfect pace. It's leaps and bounds better, in my opinion, than the previous one. And there's only a 3-year difference. That's not even personal bias. That's just looking at the story from a completely objective manner. It just flows better. I think it's worth pointing out, and we'll probably rehash this story later in the month, but originally Scrooge was supposed to be played by Lionel Barrymore in this telling. And Lionel was ill. He was unable to do it. He had portrayed Scrooge on radio broadcasts for years leading up to this. And so when he was unable to do it, he told the filmmakers, "Get my friend Reginald Owen. He'll hit the home run for you." They did, and he did. And in return, fast forward a few years, and much as we discussed how this story, the characters, even when you're not doing a Christmas Carol telling, it's so popular that you see Scrooge-esque characters in other films. Old Man Potter from It's a Wonderful Life, very much a Scrooge-like character and villain, played by Lionel Barrymore. He got his moment to have that Scrooge-esque film personification, and he's technically not even playing Ebenezer Scrooge. He's just playing somebody else with some very serious Scrooge-like intentions. And he does it so well that you don't even realize or miss the fact that he wasn't able to be Scrooge here because both men hit their home runs for the respective movies. When it comes to my rating for this version of A Christmas Carol, I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Out of all the versions that we're discussing this week, again, with the exception of maybe Mickey and the Muppets, this is my absolute favorite. And if you've never seen it, I highly recommend that you look for it, track it down. It should be on streaming sites for the month, for Christmas viewing. Take a look at it, give it a look, let me know what you think. Those of you that have seen 1938's A Christmas Carol starring Reginald Owen as Scrooge, what are your thoughts? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys tune in at the top of the hour, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, as we open the doors up once again to Stat Boy Sports Bar. The food is hot, the beer is cold, and the seats are warm, so pull up a bar stool and engage in some professional sports conversation with Stat Boy Mike Caldwell, Dory Lou, and the rest of the regulars in the sports bar as we move towards NFL playoffs. And then later on this evening, the flagship is back as Talk Wrestling retakes the airwaves on the Jeff Meacham Network, the Casa D18 Studios channel, NoDQ.com, the Greg Cherry brand, across the entire rest of the Jeff Meacham multiverse of media. And then tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, it'll be time for another edition of Renegades Reviews and the third of 7 tellings of A Christmas Carol. This version of Scrooge from 1951, starring Alistair Sim as Ebenezer Scrooge, alongside Mervyn Johns, Michael Horden, Glenn Dearman, Michael J. Dolan, Francis DeWolf, Carol Marsh, and Jack Warner. You're not going to want to miss out on that. Right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on Renegades Reviews, on Stat Boy Sports Bar, on Talk Wrestling, across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media. So much more in store for you this month. You don't want to miss out. So make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live, as is the case with Stat Boy Sports Bar, Open Mic Night, pay-per-view PLE coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of Charles Dickens, fans of A Christmas Carol, fans of the character of Ebenezer Scrooge, fans of Reginald Owen or Gene Lockhart or June Lockhart or Leo G. Carroll. Anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them. It's the only way we're going to boost up visibility in YouTube's algorithms so I can eventually get monetized and make some money on these productions. Thank you once again to everyone who joined me and tuned in today. It means more to me than you'll ever know. And I will see you guys next time.